the mystery of the Anunnaki, gods, angels, or visitors from the stars. In the vast and ancient lands of Mesopotamia, where civilization itself first took root, whispers of an enigmatic race have echoed through time. The Anunnaki, figures of great power, wisdom, and mystery, have been worshipped, feared, and speculated about for thousands of years. But who were they? Gods descending from the heavens? Messengers of divine knowledge? Or perhaps, as some suggest, beings from beyond our world, shaping the course of human history? Long before modern religions took shape, the Sumerians of ancient Mesopotamia recorded their interactions with these celestial figures in cuneiform tablets, some of the oldest written records known to man. To them, the Anunnaki were not mere myths, but very real entities, ruling from the heavens and walking among men. They were said to have bestowed wisdom upon early civilizations, teaching them the secrets of agriculture, astronomy, and governance, gifts that propelled humanity out of primitive existence and into an age of enlightenment. Yet, as with all great legends, time has blurred the lines between history and myth. Over the centuries, different cultures have interpreted the Anunnaki in ways that fit their own worldviews. In the earliest Sumerian accounts, they were powerful deities, the highest among a pantheon of gods, directly descended from Anu, the celestial king. Later Babylonian and Assyrian texts, however, paint a different picture, one where the Anunnaki are no longer heavenly beings, but instead judges of the underworld, presiding over the fates of the dead. As civilizations evolved, so did the stories. The ancient Hebrews may have drawn upon these tales when composing their own religious texts, transforming the Anunnaki into the Elohim, the plural term, often translated as God in the Old Testament. Some scholars believe that even the Nephilim, the giant offspring of divine beings and humans mentioned in Genesis, may have originated from Mesopotamian descriptions of the Anunnaki. Could these figures have been early rulers mistaken for gods? Or were they something more, something beyond our current understanding? In modern times, speculation about the true nature of the Anunnaki has only intensified. Some researchers, particularly those exploring alternative history theories, suggest that they were not deities at all, but extraterrestrial visitors who came to Earth in the distant past. This idea, popularized by authors such as Zecharia Sitchin, proposes that the Anunnaki were an advanced race from another world, possibly the planet Nibiru, who manipulated early human genetics and guided civilization for their own purposes. While mainstream historians dismiss these claims as pseudoscience, the fascination with the Anunnaki remains stronger than ever. What is undeniable, however, is that their legend has endured. Across millennia, across cultures, across interpretations, the Anunnaki continue to capture the imagination of those who seek answers to humanity's greatest mysteries. Whether they were gods, angels, or ancient visitors from the stars, their story is one of power, knowledge, and an enduring enigma, one that still waits to be unraveled. In the ancient land of Mesopotamia, where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers wove through fertile plains, the first great civilization emerged. Here, under the vast skies, the Sumerians recorded tales of divine beings, the Anunnaki. To them, these figures were not merely myths, but powerful entities that shaped the course of human existence. Unlike the singular deities worshipped in later cultures, the Anunnaki were many, their roles shifting over centuries. The earliest Sumerian records describe the Anunnaki as the children of An, the supreme sky god. They were celestial rulers, deities of immense power who stood above all others in the rich Sumerian pantheon. In these ancient times, gods were not distant, unseen forces. They walked among men, their influence felt in the rivers, the storms, and the very earth that gave life to the Sumerian people. As time passed and the Akkadians, Babylonians, and Assyrians inherited the myths of summer, the stories of the Anunnaki evolved. No longer just celestial rulers, they became the seven judges of the underworld, presiding over the fates of souls in the afterlife. To some, they were no longer gods of the heavens, but spirits of the deep, keepers of a realm beyond the mortal world. This transformation suggests that the beliefs surrounding the Anunnaki were fluid, shaped by the needs and fears of each civilization that told their story. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Anunnaki is the mystery surrounding their exact number and identity. Ancient texts offer conflicting accounts. Some claim there were 7 Anunnaki, while others speak of 50 deities associated with the city of Eridu, one of the oldest settlements of Sumer. In the tale of Inanna's descent into the underworld, only 7 Anunnaki appear, acting as judges who decree her fate. Yet in later Babylonian myths, they are said to number in the hundreds, divided between the heavens and the earth by the mighty god Marduk. The meaning of their name adds yet another layer of mystery. In the Sumerian language, Anunnaki translates to offspring of An or children of Anu. If taken literally, it suggests a divine lineage, a direct connection to the celestial realm. Some scholars believe that the Anunnaki were not a single unified group, but rather a title given to the most revered deities of each era. Others argue that their ever-changing roles indicate an evolution of religious thought, where gods were repurposed to fit the shifting structures of power. Despite the grandeur of their legends, physical evidence of Anunnaki worship remains scarce. Unlike the well-documented cults of gods like Enlil or Inanna, no temples or artifacts explicitly dedicated to the Anunnaki as a collective have been discovered. Their presence lingers only in texts, carved into clay tablets that have survived millennia. This absence raises questions: were they once widely revered, only to fade into myth? Or were they always meant to remain mysterious, a concept rather than a concrete pantheon? The Anunnaki may never be fully understood, but their legacy endures, etched in the stories of gods and kings, passed down through time like whispers from an ancient world. In the ancient temples of Mesopotamia, sacred fires once flickered for millennia, burning like memories of the gods who once ruled this world. They were called the Anunnaki, powerful beings whose names were etched into clay tablets, their stories passed down through the ages. Yet, despite their immense influence, these deities were never worshipped as a united pantheon. Unlike the great gods of Greece or Rome, there were no grand temples dedicated to the Anunnaki as a collective. This absence remains one of the greatest mysteries of ancient history. The earliest known mention of the Anunnaki appears during the 3rd dynasty of Ur. But even then, they were not recognized as a single group. Instead, each god had their own city, their own followers, and their own distinct worship. Enlil, the god of wind in the heavens, was revered in Nippur, where he was seen as the ultimate authority over the cosmos. Meanwhile, Enki, the god of water and wisdom, was honored in Eridu, a city near the marshlands of the Euphrates, where the flowing waters mirrored the boundless knowledge he bestowed upon humanity. Because of this separate devotion, no surviving artifacts depict the Anunnaki together. There are no shared sculptures, no unified inscriptions detailing their collective presence. What remains are scattered references across different texts, fragments of myths that speak of their influence over human fate, of their interventions in mortal affairs, and of the way their stories blurred the line between legend and reality. This division also led to shifts in how they were perceived over time. In early Sumerian texts, the Anunnaki were revered as the most powerful deities, the direct descendants of Anu, the great sky god. But as Babylon rose to prominence, their role changed dramatically. Instead of celestial rulers, they were redefined as underworld gods, judges of the dead who presided over the realm of shadows. Why did their image transform so drastically? Was it a reflection of shifting beliefs as new powers reshaped old traditions? Or was it a deliberate effort to distance the rising Babylonian gods from their Sumerian predecessors? Whatever the truth may be, one fact remains clear: the Anunnaki were not just mythological figures. They were central to the spiritual framework of the ancient world, yet their fragmented worship speaks to a civilization in constant evolution. Perhaps it is this ambiguity that has kept them shrouded in mystery, a legend that continues to spark curiosity, a story with no definitive ending. In the ancient lands of Mesopotamia, where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers once nourished the earliest civilizations, a story has endured for thousands of years, the story of the Anunnaki. To the Sumerians, they were not merely gods but powerful beings who ruled over both heaven and earth. Yet, what makes their story truly fascinating is how their roles changed over time, evolving from supreme deities to mysterious figures who appear in different cultures and religious traditions. In the earliest Sumerian writings, the Anunnaki were described as the descendants of Anu, the great sky god. They were among the most powerful deities in the Sumerian pantheon, overseeing the fates of humans and the universe. However, as time passed, their roles became contradictory. Some texts describe them as heavenly beings, while others place them as judges in the underworld. In the famous Epic of Gilgamesh, the Anunnaki are no longer seen as benevolent gods, but rather as the judges who determine the fate of the dead. Adding to the mystery is another group of beings, the Igigi. According to some myths, the Igigi were lesser gods who once served the Anunnaki. They worked tirelessly for their masters until, after centuries of hardship, they rebelled. Their revolt led to a dramatic event, one that some believe changed the course of human history. To replace the Igigi, one of the Anunnaki, the wise god Enki, is said to have created humankind. This raises an intriguing question. Were the Anunnaki the true creators of humanity? And if so, were we created simply to serve them? As their story spread across different cultures, the Anunnaki took on new forms and interpretations. In the Babylonian creation myth, the Enuma Elish, the powerful god Marduk divided the Anunnaki into two groups: 300 who ruled over the heavens, and 300 who governed the earth. This division of celestial and earthly beings bears a striking resemblance to later religious traditions, particularly in Jewish and Christian beliefs about angels. Some scholars believe that the concept of angels may have originated from the Anunnaki. Even the Nephilim, the fallen angels mentioned in the Book of Enoch, share similarities with these ancient Mesopotamian deities. The story of the Anunnaki is more than just an ancient myth. It is a tale that has been reshaped over time, leaving traces in different civilizations and religious traditions. From Babylon to Greece, from early Judaism to modern theories about extraterrestrials, their legacy endures. Were they gods, angels, or something else entirely? Whatever the truth may be, the Anunnaki remain one of the most captivating and mysterious figures in the history of human belief. The shining ones in their connection to the stars. In the quiet deserts of Mesopotamia, under a vast canopy of stars, the ancients gazed at the heavens and saw more than just distant lights. They saw a reflection of their gods, their history, and perhaps even their origins. The Anunnaki, those mysterious figures from Sumerian mythology, were more than just deities. They were celestial beings, deeply tied to the movements of the sky. Imagine a time long before modern astronomy, when knowledge of the stars was not a science, but a sacred art. The Sumerians, who lived over 5,000 years ago, were among the first to map the heavens. They built massive ziggurat-stepped temples that reached toward the sky, not just as places of worship, but as observatories. The priests who climbed these towering structures at night were not simply offering prayers. They were reading the messages written in the stars. The connection between the Anunnaki and the celestial world was not accidental. The very name Anunnaki is believed to mean offspring of Anu, with Anu being the great sky god. These beings were often associated with specific stars and planets, particularly those that held great significance in ancient astrology. Marduk, for example, was connected to Jupiter, while Inanna, the goddess of love and war, was linked to Venus. This cosmic connection extended beyond summer. In ancient Egypt, Ra, Osiris, and Horus were also linked to celestial bodies. In Greece, Zeus ruled from the heights of Mount Olympus, much like Anu governed from the heavens. And in the Bible, the term Elohim, often translated as God, has roots in words meaning shining ones, much like the Anunnaki were described. The Sumerians were not the only people who believed their gods descended from the stars. Across the world, ancient cultures told stories of celestial beings coming down to Earth. The Tuatha Dé Danann of Ireland, the Shining Ones of Celtic legend, were said to have arrived from a distant land beyond the sea. In Japan, the Ainu people spoke of mysterious ancestors who appeared with knowledge and wisdom. Even in Native American traditions, tales exist of sky people bringing guidance to early humans. But why did so many cultures associate divine beings with the heavens? Perhaps it was because the stars represented the unknown, the unreachable. Or maybe, as some believe, there was more to these stories, something lost to history, something hidden in plain sight. The great temples, pyramids, and stone circles scattered across the world all share one thing in common: a precise alignment with the stars. Whether the Anunnaki were gods, ancient sages, or simply a way for early humans to explain the vast universe, their story continues to inspire. Their legacy is written not just in stone tablets, but in the stars above, timeless, unchanging, and waiting for those who still dare to look up and wonder. On a quiet evening in ancient Mesopotamia, under the vast, starlit sky, the people of summer gathered around their elders to listen to the old stories. They spoke of the Anunnaki, the great beings who came from the heavens and brought knowledge to humankind. But among these divine figures, there was one who stood apart: Enki, the wise and benevolent teacher. Enki was not just a god of water. He was the bearer of knowledge, the one who shaped humanity's future. The Sumerians believed that before humans roamed the earth as they do today, the gods labored endlessly to maintain the world. The Igigi, a lesser group of deities, were tasked with the hard work of digging irrigation canals, tending the land, and ensuring the prosperity of civilization. But after many years, they grew weary and rebelled, refusing to serve any longer. Chaos threatened to consume the land. It was Enki who devised a plan to restore balance. He proposed the creation of a new being, humans who would take over the work of the gods. Unlike the Igigi, these new beings would not be divine, but they would possess intelligence, adaptability, and the ability to learn. With his own hands, Enki shaped the first humans from clay, mixing the earth with the essence of the gods. And so, humanity was born not as an accident, but as a deliberate act of wisdom and necessity. The humans thrived under the guidance of Enki. He did not abandon them to struggle on their own. Instead, he taught them the secrets of agriculture, showing them how to plant wheat and barley, how to tame animals for farming, and how to build irrigation systems to sustain their crops. He gave them the knowledge of numbers, helping them develop the first systems of measurement and trade. Through Enki, the Sumerians learned to craft tools, make pottery, and compose music to celebrate the world around them. But not all the gods were pleased with Enki's generosity. His brother, Enlil, saw humans as mere servants, created for the gods' benefit. He feared that they were learning too much, gaining too much independence. When the time of the Great Flood came, it was Enlil who decided that humankind should be washed away, but Enki would not allow his creation to be destroyed so easily. He whispered a warning to a righteous man, telling him to build a great boat to save himself, his family, and the animals of the world. The floodwaters came and swallowed the land, but thanks to Enki's wisdom, humanity endured. When the waters receded, the survivors emerged, forever changed. They were no longer just servants of the gods, but the inheritors of knowledge. They carried the wisdom of Enki forward, spreading it across generations. And so, even today, when we look at the advancements of early civilization writing, science, and engineering, we see the mark of Enki, the teacher, the protector, the god who believed in the potential of humankind. In the ancient land of Mesopotamia, where the great rivers Tigris and Euphrates nourished the first known civilization, a forbidden union was said to have taken place. The Watchers, those who had once served as the guardians of humanity, descended from their celestial domain, captivated by the beauty of mortal women. These beings, once revered as divine overseers, chose to abandon their heavenly status, taking wives among the daughters of men. From these unions, legends say, a race of giants was born, great in stature and knowledge, yet destined to bring chaos upon the earth. The ancient texts describe these Watchers not merely as passive observers, but as teachers, bestowing upon humanity knowledge once reserved for the gods. One among them, Azazel, was said to have taught men the secrets of forging weapons, swords, shields, and armor, forever changing the course of human warfare. Another, known as Samiaza, revealed the mysteries of enchantments, root cutting, and divination. Barakil introduced astrology, while Shamshil taught the movements of the sun. One by one, the Watchers passed down sacred wisdom, from the healing properties of plants to the power of the stars. At first, these gifts were embraced, elevating civilization to new heights. The people of Sumer built great cities with towering ziggurats, their priests using newfound knowledge to predict celestial events and enhance agriculture. But as time passed, the teachings of the Watchers led to corruption. The giants born from their union with humankind grew unruly, consuming resources at an alarming rate. The texts tell of creatures who devoured crops, livestock, and eventually even turned upon men themselves. Bloodshed filled the land as lawlessness spread, and the cries of suffering reached the ears of the elder gods. Enoch, a scribe and a man of great wisdom, was chosen as the intermediary between the gods and the fallen Watchers. He was tasked with delivering a dire warning. The Watchers had broken sacred laws, and judgment was imminent. The punishment, it was said, would be a great flood, a deluge to cleanse the world of the corruption that had taken root. Some stories claim that Noah, forewarned of this coming catastrophe, built his ark to preserve life, while the Watchers faced eternal banishment, bound in the depths of the earth. These ancient tales, recorded in the Book of Enoch and echoed in other traditions, reveal a time when humanity stood at the crossroads of divine influence and mortal ambition. Whether one sees these stories as myth, allegory, or historical memory, they serve as a warning about the dangers of knowledge without wisdom. The Watchers came as teachers, but in their defiance, they reshaped the fate of mankind, forever altering the balance between heaven and earth. The forgotten knowledge of the Anunnaki, a story of celestial cycles. Thousands of years ago, long before written history, there were those who understood the great cycles of the heavens. They were called the Anunnaki, and to the people of ancient Mesopotamia, they were gods. Yet, these beings did not simply rule. They observed, calculated, and predicted. They understood that time was not just the passing of days and nights, but part of a grand celestial rhythm that dictated the fate of the world. In the ancient world, knowledge of the stars was not merely for navigation or storytelling, it was survival. The Anunnaki, it is said, possessed an extraordinary grasp of the precession of the equinoxes, a vast cycle spanning approximately 25,800 years. They knew that the Earth was not fixed, that it wobbled ever so slightly, shifting the positions of the stars over millennia. This knowledge was crucial, for they believed it was tied to great upheavals, floods, earthquakes, and the rise and fall of civilizations. Legends tell of the elders among them, the wisest of the Anunnaki, who gathered at sacred sites, ziggurats, mountain peaks, and vast temples aligned perfectly with the stars. There, they recorded their observations, mapping the heavens with precision unmatched for thousands of years. To them, the sky was not a distant mystery but a clock, a grand mechanism whose gears turned too slowly for most to notice. One of their greatest warnings, according to ancient texts, was about the shifting of the Earth's balance. They believed that at the end of a great cycle, chaos would reign. The climate would change, the seas would rise, and fire would sweep through lands once fertile. Some even whispered that their own homeland, wherever it had been lost to such a catastrophe. The story of the Great Flood, found in the Bible, the Epic of Gilgamesh, and countless other traditions, may have been one of their greatest predictions. It was not simply a tale of divine wrath, but a record of what had happened before and what they feared would happen again. They saw patterns in the sky, omens written in the movement of the planets, and they tried to warn the world, but time has a way of burying knowledge. As civilizations rose and fell, the wisdom of the Anunnaki was lost, replaced with myths and fragmented texts. What was once scientific observation became legend. The connection between celestial cycles and earthly disasters faded into obscurity. Yet, even today, their warnings may still hold meaning. Scientists now study Earth's axial tilt, solar cycles, and shifting climates, coming to conclusions eerily similar to those inscribed on ancient clay tablets. Were the Anunnaki simply early astronomers, or did they possess knowledge we have only begun to rediscover? Perhaps in understanding the past, we may glimpse the future. Throughout history, cultures across the world have told stories of gods and celestial beings who shaped civilization. The Anunnaki, central to ancient Mesopotamian mythology, appear to have left their mark, not only on Sumerian beliefs, but also on many other cultures that followed. Their presence echoes through time, evolving into the deities of Greece, Egypt, and Rome, and even influencing later religious traditions. But who were they truly? Were they divine beings, celestial watchers, or simply rulers of an advanced civilization, whose memory was passed down through myth? In the grand cities of ancient Mesopotamia, the Anunnaki were said to rule from on high, overseeing humanity's progress. As the centuries passed, their identities and roles transformed, taking new forms as they merged with the myths of neighboring cultures. The Greek gods of Mount Olympus, led by Zeus, bore striking similarities to the power struggles between Anu, Enlil, and Enki. In Egypt, the great sun god Ra and the underworld ruler Osiris shared attributes with the Anunnaki's celestial hierarchy. Even in Rome, Jupiter, Neptune, and Pluto mirrored the division of power once held by these ancient Mesopotamian deities. These similarities suggest that the stories of the Anunnaki may have spread far beyond Sumer, adapting to new civilizations and belief systems. Legends of the Watchers, known as the Igigi, further intertwine with these ancient myths. Described in some texts as divine beings who once served the Anunnaki, the Igigi rebelled against their masters, much like the Titans of Greek mythology, who rose against the Olympians. The rebellion led to the replacement by humanity, a tale eerily reminiscent of the biblical fall of the Nephilim, the supposed offspring of angels and mortals. The theme of divine rebellion and the eventual triumph of a new order recurs throughout history, from the celestial battles of Hindu deities to the struggles of Norse gods like Odin and Loki. Could these myths all stem from the same distant memory and era when a ruling elite, known as the Anunnaki, shaped the course of early human civilization? The lasting impact of the Anunnaki is also visible in the sacred architecture of ancient cultures. The Sumerians built towering ziggurats, stairways to the heavens where their gods were said to dwell. The Egyptians erected pyramids, structures aligning with celestial bodies, perhaps to honor divine rulers who came from above. Even in Mesoamerica, the stepped temples of the Maya and Aztecs bear resemblance to these ancient constructs. The symbolism of ascending to the heavens, of rulers communing with celestial beings, is a theme deeply rooted in human tradition. As we look back through history, the echoes of the Anunnaki seem ever present. Were they merely gods of myth, or does their story reveal a forgotten truth about humanity's origins? Perhaps, in unraveling their mysteries, we come closer to understanding the forces that shaped the world's great civilizations and the knowledge that has been passed down through the ages. For centuries, scholars, theologians, and even conspiracy theorists have debated the true nature of the Anunnaki. Were they ancient gods, powerful rulers, or perhaps something even more extraordinary? In modern times, some have taken these age-old legends and woven them into theories of extraterrestrial intervention. The idea that the Anunnaki were not divine beings, but visitors from another world has gained traction, especially in popular culture and pseudo-scientific circles. But what does history truly tell us? Imagine standing on the arid plains of Mesopotamia thousands of years ago, watching the first great cities rise: Uruk, and Babylon. The people who built them, the Sumerians, were far ahead of their time, mastering mathematics, astronomy, and engineering in ways that still baffle researchers today. Their cuneiform tablets tell tales of gods descending from the heavens, of rulers chosen by divine beings, and of knowledge gifted from the stars. These stories have fueled modern speculation that the Anunnaki were, in fact, ancient astronauts, beings from another planet who came to Earth, imparted wisdom, and perhaps even engineered humanity itself. The extraterrestrial theory, first popularized by writers like Sitchin, suggests that the Anunnaki hailed from a distant planet called Nibiru. According to this interpretation, these beings arrived on Earth to mine gold, a precious resource they needed for their advanced technology. Needing a workforce, they supposedly altered the DNA of primitive humans, accelerating evolution and creating the first civilizations. While this idea is compelling, it lacks credible archaeological or historical evidence. It relies on speculative translations of Sumerian texts rather than accepted linguistic studies. Nevertheless, the theory persists, largely because it taps into a deep-rooted human fascination with the unknown. People have long sought explanations for the sudden explosion of intelligence and culture in ancient Mesopotamia. How did the Sumerians develop a writing system, create advanced irrigation methods, and track celestial movements with such precision? Some argue that divine intervention or otherworldly influence is a more plausible answer than mere human ingenuity. Yet, history offers another explanation, one grounded in reality. The Anunnaki, rather than being space travelers, were likely rulers, priests, and wise men who accumulated and passed down knowledge. In early civilizations, those with superior intelligence and technical skill were often revered as gods. Their influence over the land, agriculture, and governance could have easily been interpreted as supernatural by the common people. Over generations, these historical figures became mythologized, their deeds exaggerated until they transcended mortality and entered the realm of legend. Perhaps the real lesson of the Anunnaki is not about aliens or lost civilizations, but about humanity itself. We have always been seekers looking to the stars for answers, weaving the unknown into stories of gods and visitors from beyond. Whether divine, mortal, or imagined, the Anunnaki remain a symbol of our unending quest to understand where we came from and where we might be going. For centuries, the mystery of the Anunnaki has fascinated scholars, theologians, and those searching for the origins of civilization. Were they gods, celestial beings, or simply extraordinary humans with knowledge far beyond their time? The truth, as history often reveals, is a mixture of fact and legend. The Anunnaki first emerged in the ancient Sumerian civilization, a society that flourished over 5,000 years ago in what is now modern-day Iraq. The Sumerians built vast cities, developed one of the earliest known writing systems, and made remarkable advances in mathematics, astronomy, and agriculture. They credited much of their knowledge to a group of divine figures, the Anunnaki, whom they believed descended from the heavens. But who were these mysterious beings? Some records depict them as rulers of the cosmos, governing both the heavens and the underworld. Others suggest they were wise teachers, guiding early humans in the ways of civilization. Over time, their stories blended with myths from other cultures, influencing later religious traditions, including aspects of the Bible. The Great Flood, the Garden of Eden, and even the fallen angels of Christian theology share striking similarities with the Anunnaki legends. Yet, beyond the myths, what remains clear is that these figures represent the deep and complex beliefs of an advanced ancient society. The Sumerians were skilled astronomers who mapped the stars and understood celestial cycles. They built towering ziggurats, massive structures that may have served as temples, observatories, or even symbolic stairways to the heavens. To them, the Anunnaki were not just mythical beings, but central to their understanding of the world and its natural forces. As centuries passed, the legend of the Anunnaki spread. Babylonian, Assyrian, and later Greek and Roman civilizations adopted and reshaped their stories. Some scholars believe that these figures were real historical rulers, their achievements later mythologized. Others suggest they were priest kings, individuals with advanced knowledge of astronomy, agriculture, and governance, who became immortalized in legend. In modern times, new theories have emerged. Some propose that the Anunnaki were visitors from another world, bringing wisdom and technology to early mankind. Others see them as symbols of an ancient elite class, passing down knowledge from generation to generation. However, there is no concrete evidence of extraterrestrial origins, only the enduring legacy of a civilization that laid the foundation for much of what we now consider the birth of human progress. Regardless of interpretation, the story of the Anunnaki reminds us of humanity's quest for knowledge, order, and meaning. Whether as gods, kings, or sages, they represent a time when people sought to understand the mysteries of life and the cosmos. And though thousands of years separate us from their world, their influence remains, hidden in the foundations of our myths, religions, and the very structure of civilization itself.